What is your favorite of the now, it's a new subgenre of games called the Wingspan-esque game? It's because there's been quite a few of these where you have a tableau and you're laying cards out, and this card keys on this card and keys on this card. Now, there's a lot of things you can put in this subgenre. Everything is subjective when it comes to board game reviews, so when people get persnickety about things, I remind them that it's all subjective and your opinion is what matters. So, case in point, I would put Earth in this genre. I would put Rising Robots. I would put several other games in this where you have the tableau, you're laying the cards out, they key off, and they get better. You could call it a tableau game, you could call it a Wingspan style. The reason I bring up that is because specifically, this is a game we're talking about today all about animals and putting them in a place, and then those cards do things for you based on what you have in your tableau. Now, we are talking about Lands of the Mesozoic today. That's right, dinosaurs.
Dino DNA.
So let's take a look at Lands of the Mesozoic. We'll come back up, talk final thoughts right now. All right, this is Lands of the Mesozoic. Basically, what you have is you have a set of lands, a set of herbivores, and a set of carnivores, and also based on sizes. You also have 3 different decks for these types of cards. Now, the lands are going to have things on them up here, which is the cost, in the top left, of cards you must discard out of your hand. Plus, these will then be used, as it gives you the symbol down here, to place herbivores out there. So herbivores would cost 2 cards, necessarily for this one. And then you'd have to exhaust one of the yellow and one of the brown type of cards from your lands, which means that if you were going to use the card for its power in the bottom and you had exhausted it for its power, you could not then use it to put out an herbivore. Then the herbivores will build up into the carnivores. Now the carnivores will use the herbivores as resources to build. Here's the thing, you'll notice this kind of pyramidal shape here. This is important because you can't have an outbalance here. If you have too many herbivores and not enough carnivores, you'll have an overgrazing, and then you'll have to extinct one of these. You can't have too many carnivores, you can't build enough there. You can't have too many herbivores for the land that you have. You'll have to extinct some to kind of keep this balance of nature in there. It's not a sponsor by a YouTube channel, a brand. But basically, you also have these goals up here. These are goals that you're going to try to hit in the middle of the game. Basically, the first to do these will get the most points, and second to do them will get the second most points. You're also going to have private goals. Now, on your turn, you're going to do one of 4 things. You can play a card from your hand. When you do, by paying the cost, it comes out exhausted. You can activate 1 or 2 cards already in play. So that'd be the cards that you have laid out here. You can activate them by exhausting them. And then also you can use a special action, which is discard 2 cards from your hand to either draw 2 land cards, 1 herbivore, or 1 carnivore. And the other thing is pass. And when you pass, you're essentially going to unexhaust all your cards. That's where you're going to check the food chain balance and then the overgrazing balance. And then once everybody passes, you're going to take these cards here that you have set up, and then an event is going to happen. So period 1, immediately all players draw a carnivore. Now there are also cards that happen in between these, like major extinction event. Every player discards down to 6, then exhausts all of the following land cards in play. So they can be a little bit brutal, but that is essentially how you play. You're going to play until those phase cards are empty, and then you'll count points. Person with the most points wins the game. All right, that's it. So you're playing dinosaurs, laying them out. Laying dinosaurs out on the board. You're getting points for them at the end of the game. There are certain prerequisites. So let's go down the rubric, as it were, of how we rate board games. Now, typically what I do is I go down and talk about the concept, the board layout, the mechanics, the art direction, the art, the gameplay, and the rule book. Now, again, the way I weight these is how I enjoy the game. Now, you may weight certain games more on these different rubric scales. Case in point, like the first time I played Twilight Struggle, I looked at the rule book and was like, I hate this rule book. Now, I wish there were several games that use the war game style of 7.1, 7.2, the textbook style, as it were, rule book. But that's not always the case, so that will change based on what you're playing. So, concept for this, 7.5. The reason I put it as a 7.5 is because you're not making a dinosaur park, you're not doing anything in the modern era, you're not exploring dinosaur bones, you are literally just laying out a land for the dinosaurs to live in. Now, that makes sense in some cases, except sometimes you'll have dinosaurs that live nowhere near each other, being in the same place, etc. Hey, they found a mammoth tusk near me recently. It's pretty cool. So 7.5, solid 7.5, not a bad thing at all. Just, kind of not even middle of the road, just kind of above average, but, you're doing dinosaur stuff. The board layout. I really like the board layout. You have your own personal player board. It does have all the symbols listed. That would actually go in the art direction section, but I wanted to point that out because it's on your player board. I also like the tiered system of having, this section and then this section and this section. And what's really cool about that, we'll get to right now, the mechanics be a 7.5. What I really like about this, though, is that tiered system and having to balance things out. You can't have too many of this type of dinosaur with this type because they'll overfeed or they'll underfeed. Basically, they'll starve to death. And we won't have any dinosaurs. And if you don't have any dinosaurs, John Hammond can't find a mosquito. And if John Hammond can't find a mosquito, Donald Gennaro is still alive. On second thought, that doesn't sound like a terrible idea. But anyway, wouldn't get 2 great movies, 1 pretty good movie, and then 3 that can be, taken or left. I say 3 because that last one didn't even make any sense. They were like, we got the original crew here. But look at these giant locusts. What are we doing? And a psychic kid. Whatever. Anyway, so that leads us to art direction. Now, everything here on the art direction I put as a solid 7.5 as well. The reason is because the symbols are on the board. There are a lot of symbols, though. Certain things do this. Certain things do this. You do this with certain cards. You do that. So, I mean, at the end of the day, just it is what it is. Art's a 7.5 as well. I really like the art on the cards. The board's a little bit, it's okay, it's fine. The art on the cards is really nice. It looks great seeing all the different dinosaurs represented. So really good looking game when it comes to walking past the table. Not a lot of vertical integration. That's like a business term, but I mean, like the game is not vertical. It's very flat on the board. Would like to see a little bit more there, but still looks pretty good. Gameplay 7.5. The reason I put it at 7.5 and not just a little higher is because it's very difficult to get started. Like even when you know what you want to do, whether the events come and take cards out of your hand, or you go, I just need this type of land card so that I can add this dinosaur, so that I can add this dinosaur. It's not the easiest thing. It feels like there's a lot of cards to go through in top deck till you get the card you're looking for. And by the time you get the card you're looking for, you may have either forgotten what you wanted to do or not being able to do what you want to do anymore based on other circumstances around it. So 7.5 there. Rulebook's an 8. Actually, I really like the rulebook. I think it teaches the game very well in an easy way. It's not over the top. It's easy to read and understand. Plus, it tells you what all the actions are. Very simple. This all in all collates to a total of 7.5. Just a solid 7.5 game. It's 7.6, but we round whichever way I'm feeling because that's how math works. But 7.5. Lands of the Mesozoic. Go check this out. Not a bad game. Not the greatest game. It's not my game of the year, but I really enjoyed it actually playing it. And I will play this again. And that may change more depending on how I play it and get better at the game. But I do know the first couple times we played it was like, boy, this is difficult to get started. So that is Lands of the Mesozoic. I'm Bryan Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow us on X, Twitter, whatever, Instagram, at Dice, mostly just Instagram, at Dice Tower Bryan. Carla does an amazing job of updating what we're playing, putting all the stuff we're doing on there. Make sure to check out the merch store. We've got some great stuff coming in this fall. We will see you at the retreat if you're there. Until next time, we'll see you.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Vasel.